Hey guys, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to be talking about short manga series. Have you ever wanted to actually start reading manga, but you weren't too sure about it, especially since you probably know somebody that has been reading mangas that have multiple volumes? And I'm talking upwards of 10, 15, 20 volumes sometimes. So I know that can definitely be intimidating. So what I have for you today, I believe it is like 6 different manga series that I personally have really enjoyed, and I thought that if you really wanted to start with a manga series because you were new to it, you might want a shorter series. Now I'm saying anything that is a short manga series is a manga series that is 5 volumes or less. So for me personally, 1 volume of a manga is usually, I want to say they're close to 200-ish pages, a little bit less, a little bit more sometimes. It can take me about an hour or so to read that, just depending on how much detail is put into the actual pictures there, how much dialogue there is, but they're quite quick to read compared to a normal book. So I say 5 volumes or less is actually a pretty doable amount for manga, especially if you're looking for something that you could probably read in an afternoon. So, like I said, I have about 6 different series here that I personally have been really enjoying, and I just wanted to talk about. So the first one that we have here is going to be Millennium Snow by Bisco Hattori. So this is a 4-volume manga series. I don't think you can actually purchase them in 1, 2, 3, 4 like individual volumes. So we have volumes 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. This is the same author that wrote Ouran High School Host Club, which I absolutely loved, and that manga actually has 18 volumes. So this is a good jumping off point. One thing I do want to mention with this one in particular is that volumes 1 and 2 were actually written before Ouran High School Host Club and before Bisco Hattori got more popular. And then volumes 3 and 4 were not written until after Ouran High School Host Club was finished. So there is a big leap in art style here. So for example, this is sort of what our art style looks like in our first book, because it's volumes 1 and 2. And this is sort of what it looks like in volumes 3 and 4. I personally really enjoy the art style in volume 3 and 4 better, because this is something that I was more used to. It's a little bit cleaner, a little bit more what I would consider modern. The art style in books 1 and 2 felt a little bit dated. Like, I feel like this is very similar to the art style that was like really early 2000s, 90s, that kind of stuff. And this is a series that follows our main character of Chiyuki, who was born with heart problems, and her doctors believe she won't make it to the next winter. Then she ends up meeting Toya, who is a vampire, but he hates drinking people's blood, and even though he has the potential power to sort of give Chiyuki more life and live longer, he is very reluctant to give it to her. I absolutely loved these. I read them, for the first time at least probably like 5-6 years ago. I reread them a couple years ago and they still held up for me. I just really enjoy these. So these are definitely a paranormal sort of shoujo type of manga, but it's only 4 volumes long, and so I personally really enjoyed it. And if you like paranormal vampire werewolf type of books, I know there's been a lot of talk about the new Twilight book coming out soon. Definitely check these out. The next series that I want to talk about is another 4-volume series, and this is The 7 Princes of the Thousand-Year Labyrinth by Ettore Haruno. This is more of a, I don't know if it's considered shonen exactly, but I did feel like there was more action and adventure in it. There is no romance in here either, so in case you were a little bit put off by the fact that it is a shoujo in the first series that I talked about, don't be worried about this one. I absolutely love this series. I read it a couple years ago, and I think I read the first 2 because I had gotten them off of like Book Outlet or something, and the very same day I was reading these, I had to purchase these from Barnes & Noble because I had to like marathon them because it was just so good and action-packed. Basically, our main character is going to be Ewan, who is this character here. We have other characters that are more like side characters, secondary characters in this series, but Ewan is our main one. And he finds himself trapped in this castle with no way to escape, him and a few other people. And it basically ends up that they're sort of in a labyrinth type of area that has traps and pitfalls, and it's very, very dangerous. And everybody except for Ewan is of high, noble, royal sort of birth, and they're trying to escape the labyrinth to figure out who is going to be the next emperor. Like I said, there is lots of action in here. There are some deaths, keep that in mind. I absolutely love this. I have not found another series even semi-similar to this yet, but I'm always on the lookout for it because this was a very surprise, fun series for me, and I absolutely loved it. Then we have That Blue Sky Feeling by Okura. This is one that is more of a contemporary sort of story, and it follows our main character of Noshiro, who is new in school and hears a rumor that Sanada is gay. So this is more of a coming of age sort of story where Noshiro sort of has to deal with the sort of stigma that Japan has with LGBTQ people. And so there are some things in here that could be a little bit problematic and cringy, but I do really love the fact that Noshiro is also sort of questioning his sexuality in this series and is friends with Sanada. This is where I'm going to admit I haven't read the third one yet, so I don't know if there's a full-on romance or if it's more of a friendship between the boys, but I've really been enjoying the first two. This one just came out this year and I just haven't quite gotten to it yet. I think I hauled it last month, so I need to do that. But this is a contemporary LGBTQ coming of age type of story that I think is probably going to be very important. I have talked about the first two books on my channel, and I guess I just want to mention it here. In the first one specifically, there is an older man who is like 10 years older than these boys in high school, who apparently was an ex-boyfriend of Sanada. I got really creeped out at that part. He didn't really show up at all in the second book, so I'm really hoping that continues in the third book. So the first book was not a full 5 stars for me just because of that fact. There was nothing overly sexual at all in this series, but the fact that like an 18-year-old and a 28-year-old, it's yes. So keep that in mind if you're planning on going into this. The next one I want to talk about is Uzumaki by Junji Ito. Basically any of Junji Ito's books work for short manga series, but this I believe is one of his most popular ones and one that I really, really enjoyed. This one is one of the most popular editions you can purchase nowadays as well. These are like the hardbound collector's editions, which I absolutely love because they're gorgeous and creepy, and like the end papers. So Uzumaki is a 3-volume manga series, and it is a horror manga. So Junji Ito basically only does horror manga, and the art style is what is like ups the creep factor of it, but I love it. If you are not into creepy horror things, you might not like this, but it was really, really good. Uzumaki is about spirals, and I know that sounds a little bit weird when you're just hearing it, but it's basically about a town where these spirals sort of start to take over. So people are going crazy, people are turning into spirals, other things are turning into spirals. Yes, it's weird and creepy, and the art style, let me see if I can find a picture that's not like overly spoilery or overly gory for YouTube. Okay, this one's not too bad, but you can see that his art style is very sort of like sketchy, and it does definitely lend itself well to the horror world. That's the back of it because this is a manga. He also has short story collections, and this is my absolute favorite short story collection from him so far. So they're also going to be very, very creepy, but they're not going to have a full connected story like Uzumaki does. But again, they're good jumping off points if you want a short manga and you're also into horror. Then I wanted to talk about Otomi Mania. This is very shiny. This is by Tsukugase Yorino. This is a 2-book manga series that follows our main character of Yuzumi, who ends up working in an Otomi game creation studio. So one, I personally like playing Otomi games, and that was part of the reason I picked this up. This does have sort of a background in how they like sort of make the Otomi games, but also Uzumi sort of goes about her day and thinks about the people that she works with, almost as if she's in an Otomi game herself. I just really liked the way that they did this. Like, you can definitely see on the back the way the characters are sort of done like 8-bit, maybe 16-bit graphics. So this was a really fun one. This is again going to be more of like a shoujo manga, and it's only 2 volumes. I would totally read more in this series and by this author. I don't think I've seen anything else by this author yet, but I really enjoyed these. And then last but not least, we have Orange. This is by Ichigo Takano. This is going to be a slight exception to my 5 volumes or less rule. Not exactly, but it sort of feels like it, because we have 2 volumes here that are the complete collection. There's 3 volumes in collection 1, and there's technically 2 volumes of Orange in collection 2, but there is a bonus 1-volume story here. Orange also has a sort of like sequel story called Orange Future. I personally liked that, but I know a lot of people didn't enjoy the sort of extra bit, so some people don't want to consider that part of the series. So that's the reason I'm saying Orange does fit the 5 volumes or less, even though technically like Orange Future is the 6th volume in this world, and there is a bonus story in volume 2. I really enjoyed these. These are sort of like sci-fi, like alternate reality almost type of stories. Our main character of Naho ended up receiving a letter from herself from the future that told her that she is one of the only people that can help save Kakeru, who is a new student in her class, and if she doesn't follow this letter, bad things can happen. So I really enjoyed this. I want to say it's probably sort of like light sci-fi. There are like I said, these sort of alternate realities that come into play during this series, but it also has elements of romance and contemporary coming of age sort of stories. Naho has a group of friends, and I loved these so much. So if you're looking for something that is not necessarily a shoujo manga, it definitely has more of like the sci-fi elements to it, I would suggest this. I know this is a series that I have had some friends who are also guys read and really enjoy, even the ones that don't particularly like shoujo manga. So definitely consider this. I think this is a very popular series on BookTube, but I absolutely love it. And so those are all of the short mangas I have for you today. If you guys have any recommendations for me, leave them in the comments down below. But if you would also like to see a second series with a few other short manga recommendations, let me know that as well, because I have a few more on my shelves. Subscribe to this channel if you would like to see more videos. I have videos up Mondays and Thursdays, so I will see you then. Bye!